Another episode of Comics That Influence on a spring break Tuesday. How you
That's
doing,
right.
Jake?
Yes, Tuesday tax day, and I have
I forgot about that.
I'm also going to be doing something a little bit interesting tonight. I'll tell you about. But hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Comics That Influence. I'm Jake, and this is Kurt with me, and we're going to flip through the greatest comics that we can get our grubby little paws on. Um, in my case, I'm going to be doing some books today. But Kurt, what have you got there for us? Why don't you?
Well, I got a bunch of comic books I bought from this grubby little guy at IC3 who brought in three short boxes. So
And I went home with two.
these. So Jake brought three short boxes to IC3. And before anybody else could go through them, I, of course, had to go through them because a lot of these comic books were promised to me, but I still had to pay $1 because Jake forgot.
Oh, did you
But
pay me for those?
I paid.
I think we worked it out later, right?
We did, but it's all good. It's always great. I'm always finding myself saying this on our Making Turbo Pit Fighter, episodes. It always feels like I'm going to Jake's house to hang out with Jake, to draw comic books, but also read comics. So I'm going to be going through I'm going to go through this whole stack, like 20-ish comics. I think it's 20 comics I got from you, which you might have shown off. But I also want to make some indicators of maybe, future episodes that I would, do a more lengthier look at when we get a chance.
Yeah.
But the first one is I put right on the top is I've been always hunting down a cheap copy of Blood Brothers #1 or any Blood Brothers because I just really wanted to see what was it all about, and I'm thoroughly impressed with this comic book. So it looks like I'm going to be hunting down because of the gray values with the black and white on the aged newsprint. I mean, this is completely my wheelhouse. I mean, look at what this person, and let's get a name, John Gallagher. Is that artist? So these are definitely gray value pens that were used to make this expression, and then white out with a brush making these circles. I mean, talk about it. Taking a chance back in 1988. And then to see what happens when that thing prints. This is what I'm always looking for. I'm always looking for this kind of stuff. Gray value in the background, gray markers to make this like techno thing. I see a little influence coming from The Ronin by Frank Miller. But I will be hunting these this entire series.
Yeah, that looks like a good one.
Thank you for giving this to me for $1.
Oh, it slipped through my fingers.
So now we got Scorpio Rose #2. I think I have #1. I know we've talked about this one. We've pulled this guy out. You had it, and obviously, and we went through just classic Eclipse. The color, it would probably actually do better in black and white. This color, so,
right? Are those painted? Those look like they're painted pages, maybe.
Yeah. And
that
means
that means it was $100 drum scan per page on top of the artist, on top of the inker, and on top of the colorist. So expensive.
That's when Eclipse had some money.
Right. I mean, that's how Valiant did it. I don't know if Eclipse. This was way earlier, so they might have just been doing like photography. But go ahead, Nick.
Yeah. So I'm just getting myself a little squared here because I'll have full screen. The Dave Sim-Gerhard. You can never go wrong if you see one of these out in the wild for $1. When it comes to literally just black ink as lines and some screen tone to make a black and white comic book, I arguably say I don't know who does it better. as a team, and I always enjoy just having these and flipping through. So was glad to get a hold of that.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this! Look, I did get yours. I did. Oh wow, look at this. There's Rose. This.
Oh wow.
Yeah, this is just Rose.
Yeah, was that First Comics?
No, Hero Graphics, and this is a Mark Beecham.
Oh, okay.
Love Mark.
That might be a double because I collect Hero Graphics and the whole like first
Most definitely.
and fourth.
Like I said, in past episodes of Comics and Influence, you've expressed that you've had doubles or you didn't want it, and I just said put it in a pile, and I'll take it. So, Death Rattle, love this. I love the fact that they took a photograph and then this fluorescent orange with this rattlesnake. I love this. I've been playing around with some of this same kind of thinking on a little side project to keep my graphic design,
it's a little risky.
Print skills.
Death Rattle.
Yeah, it's a little risky, like especially back then, but you always get
good names in there, right?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, I got I think I have the whole run of Death Rattle, and I forget who the covers are, but definitely marquee names.
It doesn't really put anybody. All right. So, I remember having these new comics group. This is Young Master 4.
Mm-hmm.
This is writer Yakata and Val Mayerik. I love Val Mayerik. I remember getting this. Yeah, I remember getting this and just being blown away on every level. It's because I'm a Japanese samurai and ninja mark from the start. But Val Mayerik was also in Savage Sword of Conan, so this was just an amazing thing to see and have. And I remember having them all, but since parted and now bringing back. I love this little silent. So these were another man. I always wanted to get myself into them. I think I had them at one point, but this is Moebius. Continuing his airtight garage with the elsewhere prints, using other individuals. He is the story, which I think is, basically he did layouts, little doodles, and had basically an idea of what he wanted. But this guy Lossifer, which I actually had some communication with him in the late 90s because my flash animation of Arzak by Moebius caught his eye, and he wanted me to go to Paris to work with Moebius. But I said, well, is there anything I could do right now without having to fly and live in Paris? And things went pretty sideways pretty quickly. But I think this was really cool because there were a couple of projects that were being published by this guy Lossifer. L'Officier, that understood what elevation and level Moebius was making books and doing their best to be at the same line with them. And I think they always did well. This was definitely during the time when I was obsessed at having that same line quality. But the storytelling is never equal. At least mine is never equal to this. So I have 2 and 6 to get started on getting these collected. So,
and then you could make sense of the story.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big my favorite comic book is Airtight Garage. It's actually his Lost Days in Desert B, but this I know for a fact you had to have given it to me for free because I said I wanted to get a copy of it. I was going to get a copy of it, and you said, don't do it because I'm going to give this to you. So thank you very much for giving this to me. This is a modern
comic. Yeah, is that Vault comic?
2022. This is barbaric This
Yeah,
is Nathan
the
Gooden,
guy's got a good
Volt Comics.
guy's got
Damn, this thing is so incredibly
got a
good.
good
Well done.
style. It reminds me a little bit of like Adam Hughes, maybe, and
Mm,
and he's been pretty prolific with the Barbaric series.
yep.
I think it's successful. It's like like a take on Barbarian stuff, but a lot of monsters and
I think it has a little bit more like a Dungeons and Dragons feel. I haven't really cracked into reading it, but a lot of characters all having a different identity within a fantasy realm: barbarian, sorcerer, thief.
yeah,
Aliens. Half this, half that.
right,
Um,
sword and
I
sorcery.
just, I mean, if you can get a comic back when it was 12 cents for $1, I say buy it. Johnny Double. I don't think I've ever seen this. A DC comic. Let me see. 1968. Do they list? Sometimes they don't ever list who did what. Yeah, I don't see. Oh, no. Here we are. Marv Wolfman, Joe Gill dialogue, and then Jack Sparling is the art, and then Dick Giuliano is editor. But
Jack
I love
Sparling
the.
art.
Yeah, don't know who he is, but really good storytelling. I don't even know what the story is about. I thought of it as like one of these like swinging detective slash spy guys. I don't know. I had to get it, so I'll investigate. Report later. Now you put these in my hand after I purchased and said, "Oh, I forgot. I wanted you to check these out. I know this guy or knew this guy." Do you want to go in elaboration of these are Mansion Comics? I think I lost your audio, Jake.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So these comics were put out by a guy named David Watkins, and he was a writer and publisher back in the days. I guess the '90s, maybe as early as the '80s. Mansion Comics was his thing, but I started out like writing for him in a zine. He had this crazy zine where he would like put all kinds of irreverent stuff in there and just publish it. And I did some writing. I did some art for him. I have something that I came across I can show you. So he did superhero stuff. He did detective stuff. He had a lot of different comics, and he did some like TNA comics. And this was a dude from Minnesota, I think, that he worked like at a healthcare company, and so he had like access to a copier, and so he was like doing zines, and then that turned into getting his foot in the comic business. David Watkins, if you're listening to this, get in touch with me. We'll have you on an episode of Creator Exchange. He was a cool guy. The one thing that he did, I kind of fell out of touch with him, but um, I was doing a strip for a men's magazine, and he kind of undercut me, and he took my gig away because he was doing it for like half the price, and he was like hiring some artists. But it's fine. It was crazy deadlines anyway for me. I had a full-time job. There's his other thing, Nick Ryan, the Skull. So yeah, these I don't know if these comics have gotten into the pantheon yet of like, wow, these are weird, rare comics and they're
Yeah.
cool. But those two are, his superhero stuff. And he has a lot more like that. I have quite a few examples here. So that's the Mansion comic story.
Nice. Very little to say about actually both of these. I mean, and I'm next to the Samurai Japan Ninja Mark Sword and Sorcery. It's just there's
Yeah,
no. It's all impulse buying. But this is 100. This is a double size 1,000. Excuse me, 100th issue. I wonder if it's actually like
so that's
maybe
Mike
like
Grell, who
hell yeah.
who carried off quite a feat by getting to 100 issues of Warlord.
And
Um,
his character.
yep, a creator-owned character working for a major, right?
DC.
And then he kind of took off into the indie space, and it'd probably be a very interesting update to find out what happens to him in later years. But
Right, right, right.
yeah, but what a run, man! 100 issues. Come on.
Yeah. And then get a double size out of it. So like, boom. So I'll have to do more investigation, and maybe we should even, maybe it'd be a really cool episode to just get all of our Warlord comics, however many we each have, even if it's like 3 or 4, and just kind of go through them as one comics that influence, because it's just a
Yeah,
big influence, not only for social, sword and sorcery, but thing. And then, of course, you know, the Brits and their 2000 AD and Slain, and yeah, it just.
yeah,
So
that's
this is also one of these things where it's printed from a magazine to a comic book
right.
in the
All
United
that
States,
dead
and maybe
space on
even
top.
recolored. Yeah, this
Yeah,
was probably released in black and white
yeah.
in jolly old England, but then over here you can't. They had to go color. So
To me, it's
number
wasted
9,
space. You know what?
quality comics.
If that
Oh,
was
this
me,
is
I
a
would.
UK book,
Yeah, if that was me, I would kick all the art
Brooklyn.
up a little bit, and then you put something down on the bottom of every page. Why not put some prose or
Yeah,
something?
yeah, yeah. Yep, exactly.
Or some
And my
Sergio
advice.
Aragonis or something.
So, I'm going to keep this one in the bag because Forbidden Fruit is a notorious adult comics.
NSFW.
NSFW, that's right. Damn, you beat me to it. So, yeah, anytime I see anything from Forbidden Fruit, grab it because these actually, they're not cheap if you want to try to get them
Oh yeah,
online.
really?
They're never cheap.
Right?
So I had gone through and gotten a bunch of Vic Martin's. Damn, I can't remember the character's name. Pruella something. Anyway, yeah, those a pretty penny. So, and then there's a rip-off print. It's adults only. Number 1,
Right. Now
Doll.
that is
Great series. Great series.
yeah,
Guy Colwell.
that is a significant comic,
Like,
and
of the times.
the guy goes into like a really deep explanation of his inspiration. Guy
Mm-hmm.
Caldwell, and he explains what gave him the idea, and why he wanted to do it, and how he went about it, and it's we talk about the pleasure bots in our
Yep.
sci-fi world. So this was it's a story of a guy who's really, really ugly, and he's got a deformed face. So he has like these artists are doing like these displays of like mechanical, movable, posable humanoids, so he hires them to make him a companion. And then I don't know what happens after issue number 1. It gets very interesting,
Oh, really?
but like they get
She
stolen.
goes basically on her own adventure.
Oh,
So
really?
all these men, and I think a couple of women get a hold of her,
Right,
and she's treated in various ways. I mean, there's obviously a sexual context to it, but it's way more about like this artificiality that they're interfacing with because it's a posable mannequin is what
right.
doll is. So it's not but the individuals specifically
But
like the male have.
I thought she doesn't walk and talk. She's just like a
She
thing.
no, she does not. She
Right.
doesn't. People steal her.
Right.
People sell her.
Okay.
It's just it's. I mean, I think it's about 12 issues,
Yeah.
and it's like you want to talk about way ahead of the time when you're talking about how something artificial in this kind of form would be treated in our society. Really good. So yeah, thank you once again. So
Right.
Scimitar, we've all gone over this a couple times. I want to get all of these. These are always really well done. This one seems to be heavily. Let me get into it. Oh, I just want to show off real quick. Am I going to be able to get... Oh, here you go. What is this? This is like vacuum sealed.
Vacuum sealed.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Let
Well,
me,
yeah,
let me.
I think that's also adult stuff too.
Little bit. I think it's booby stuff. I don't think it's like an NC-17. It's so well done
Yeah,
though.
it's a
Always
superhero thing.
catches me. But
I think Scimitar was both adult and non-adult at different times.
it depends on what series, because there were multiple series of, I think, her as a character being done, maybe even at the same time. So interesting, way of going. Great comic, Planet of the Apes. So good stuff. Good stuff.
Uh,
Don't know, never seen
Doll.
Cat Claw.
Oh, you never seen Cat Club? Bane Karak.
Ah,
It's a great series. That's a double because I have I don't know how many issues.
boobies.
I don't know how many issues there are, but
Really well done.
really well
Really,
done. Yeah.
really well done. Almost like European,
So Doll went for 8 issues on the original run.
Oh, only 8? Okay.
Yeah,
So,
and then there was the further adventures from Kitchen Sink. Guy Caldwell was actually the guy who did Inner City Romance, starting in
yeah.
1972. And yeah, he's an interesting story. We should probably do something on him later. But
Sure.
yeah, so the Cat Claw, they're all good. I have a bunch of them. They're all great.
It's
I think it's brought over.
direct from, yeah, Europe.
Yeah, I think they're brought over and translated, but really good black and white stuff. If you like Spider-Man and superhero stuff, and Daredevil, Black Widow, whatever, it's along that. But they sometimes like rip her costume off, so
Of course.
so you
It's Europe.
see
It's
stuff,
Europe.
right? Right, it's Europe. It's like
Another Mike Grell, Windjammer, Star Slayer, the director's cut. I mean, you want to talk about heavy. This is 1995.
okay,
This looks familiar. Like I do believe I had a copy of this at one
and
point.
that's by what company?
Windjammer,
Windjammer Comics. Does it,
division of Acclaim Comics.
Okay, that's but it has an ad for Valiant right there.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe this is like a offshoot or something.
Yeah, maybe got acquired. They were trying to get acquired.
Well, if you're a big name back then, you could put out your own color comics. Valiant was doing it, Continuity was doing it, and those are some decent looking pages. But the ads really kill it for me.
Yeah, I agree.
That's why I love indie comics. No ads. It's so distracting. You got to see an ad there. But whatever.
This one is interesting. I would have bought it for $1 anytime, just because this is a low res file that got printed, so it's all bit mapped out, which
Jaggy.
has a kind of interesting. Yeah, it has this kind of effect.
Yeah,
But I'm telling you,
that's probably why I got rid of it. I got that down
I
in
love the interior. I love this interior.
right, but folks, I mean, you're scanning at 200 and you're going to press like that. What are you doing? Scan at 300 minimum.
Sure. I'm sure they learned their lesson.
Well,
But
if it's
this
black and white line
is
art,
this is
if it's
97.
yeah, if it's black and white line art, you can go 600 and it'll hold that line.
Yeah.
But
But this was somebody. I made this mistake once, doing a cover for a magazine, and but the thing was is when I gave them the file, I gave them the low res file by accident, but the printer still picked it up.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't. They caught it. Thank God they caught it. And I got a call at like 4:00 in the morning before the press was going to run at like 6:30. So I had to drive out to the printer north of Philly at 4:30 in the morning to get there before and drop off the zip drive discs.
Oh boy, remember those?
Yeah, I think that was one. That would have been one. I can't remember the size of it. I always loved these. This is one of my favorite
Kevin
artists.
J. Taylor.
I remember hanging out with him one or two times. Definitely once. When he was with Cry for Dawn, and I was doing some stuff for them. And I remember somebody saying, "Oh, Kevin's here," and I was like, turned around, and I'm like, "Kevin J. Taylor?" He's like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "You make my favorite comic book," and and he was, so we got to talking and stuff. Really cool guy. And then he says, "Let's do something together." I was like, "Absolutely." And then I think I made a call to somebody. Joe Monks was the guy running that offshoot of what is it? Cry for Dawn, when he split with Joseph Michael Lisner. And then I said, "Oh, well, I was going to work with Kevin J. Taylor." He's like, "Oh, we got to wait till he gets back. He went to Paris." So I was like, "All right, he went to Paris." So
Right.
really cool guy. And Good Girls. What is this? Oh, Fantagraphic. This is Fantagraphic. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's
cartoony.
That's an anthology? No. That's just
I don't think so.
Cartoony series?
I guess so. I don't know anything. I'll have to dig in and find. No, it is an anthology. Unless it's all Carol Leigh, it looks like. Yeah, it's all Carol Leigh, so it's her own thing, Carol Leigh. Good Girls. And then the last two I have are oh shit. I actually got these for myself. I always love having these American printed
Translated manga.
Yeah, and I believe these were no, this is Japanese. I think one of them's Korean. No, this is Japanese too. But it always helps me calm down in my own practice of like line and gray valuing. Obviously, this is all Zipatone black line quickly in the sense of like manga making process. But the other thing I'm always looking at is the graphic quality of how they make certain things happen. Like carrying that line through the mouth into this is something I'd be like, ooh, I want to try this, in if I get the opportunity. And then they're on the Crom project. I do have John Molina, brother of David Molina, is doing a American manga Crom story. I think 8 pages, 9 pages, and he's doing some. He's ready to start inking, but I thought these would be interesting for him if he's watching this to go and pick some of these up, out of the dollar bin, because they're always there. They're just it's clean and easy to follow. If somebody's learning to ink, or wants to learn to ink, I always say try to find something that doesn't have any color, has very little screens and gray value, but has enough that they're making marks in order to tell you what's happening. This one is not as graphic as the other one, but like this is a perfect example and just well rendered. And then this little gray screen's thrown in there to separate and discern that the horizon lines here or something. It's just really, really good. The way that the shadow's not a flat black, it's probably even a Zippo with a feathering line on each side. It's just different ways of going about it, but it's simple. So I would say to John to hunt down a couple copies and maybe do some.
Those pages have a lot of white
up there
for me.
Yeah.
But
you also have they're also blown up. They're blown up a little bit bigger.
Yeah, I mean the thing about Japanese is that it's meant to be a lot more disposable than American stuff or collectible. They just move. They serialize it. They move through it, and the pages they spend less time on each page than we do here in the States. Yep. So that's quite.
So there's my report.
That's quite a stack you got there.
I made out like a bandit, Jake.
You did, and I'm regretting letting some of those go, maybe, but
I'll sell them back to you for $2. $2.
It's all right. I got plenty more where that came from.
So what do you got over there?
You gotta let things go. All right. Well, we
That's
started off with this. I bought something off eBay, and then I did that thing where I'm cheaping out and say, well, what else do they have in their store so I could save shipping? And when I bought this, on the advice of one of our guests from Paris, the X-Men pop-up book, I said, well, what else do they have? Because this was only like $7 or $8. And so I bought this at the same time, and I bought this at the same time, and I bought this at the same time. So let's go over these, and let's start with the X-Men pop-up book, because this one is a quick snack here. Very unusual shape and format here. And we were saying, like, he's I forget the guy's name, but we had him on like maybe about a month ago.
Gorka.
Gorka, right, yeah,
La French
super
Ninja.
nice guy, right? So he had a lot of interesting things and that he's working on, including these kind of like pop-up books. So he was like inspired by this, and I was like, I never saw this. This is Chris Clare. No, is that John Byrne? No, that's Chris. Yeah, that's John Byrne right there. But we're gonna see some Chris Claremont. We're gonna see some everything. So we're popping up here, and this is great if you want an artistic challenge, a creative challenge. Make a pop-up book, even if you're only doing a one-off for yourself.
No, thank you.
The other thing is like getting the the manufacturer of it. Like this sticks off the page with these little things that are just like they fold down and they get compressed. But we're starting off here with the new X-Men, including Banshee. This is like straight, but you also have Phoenix. So these are like two different time periods, because is Banshee still around by the time Phoenix pops up in like issue 101, 102, something like that? Look at this. So I'm looking at this for
the
the
arm.
first.
The arm moves.
Oh, yeah. So wait. Oh, I'm supposed to pull. So, this comes up. How do I move this? Oh, I guess this moves. Ah! Cyclops. Yeah. So, and then here, there's these cool little, like, comics showing him, like, in his glory. Here's the fact file, so you can pull up, if you can see this, the fact file. First appearance, X-Men #1, 1963. Like, who didn't know that? But we're going to go through all the characters, so I can't wait to turn the page here. And, wow, Magneto! And something's wrong here. This isn't acting right. Okay, maybe this got damaged or something. Okay, now we go. So I'll never forget this. This is Chris Claremont with I'm sorry, Dave Cockrum. I kept saying Chris Claremont when I meant Dave Cockrum. But this folds up like this, and then I think the arm got twisted the wrong way. But so now it doesn't open up, so I have to fix that. But here you got some Jack Kirby and the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, and then now we're going to the next. Should I go through this whole book and spoil the whole thing? Storm.
Do what you want.
Here's the first appearance ever of Storm in Giant Size X-Men #1 down here on the right, and this great pop-up. So this is pretty well done, right? They have the name.
Of course.
The name is all done originally. The design of this is all worked out. They're just taking the the kind of like the best looking panels from Dave Cockrum's early run. And I wonder when this comes out. Actually, that doesn't say so far. I'll see if I can find the year on this. This looks like another one of these Marvel special projects. So pull this down. She can generate winds, hurricane force, etc., etc. Since her emotions affect her ability to control the weather, she must take care that a fit of rage does not invoke a raging storm. So that's all original. They have a lot of metallic here, the silver kind of stuff. Now we're going to Nightcrawler. And, I'm not in love with some of these, like, headline graphics. These could have been better. Leaping through alternate dimensions. The teleporting swashbuckler Nightcrawler possesses a demonic appearance that belies his status as one of mutant kind's true guardian angels. This, I don't know what I'm looking at. Are you supposed to lift this or something? No, this kind of just sits there. And this just has metallic eyes. It pops up a little bit when you open this up. This one's not the best. This one they just kind of mailed in. And then they're also splitting time here with Iceman, the founding member. Oh, look at that. This opens up into another panel here. So on Nightcrawler's page, you also get the Iceman and the Angel and the Beast and Jean Grey. They're squeezing them all in here. So this is good if you've never heard of the X-Men. I mean, this stuff is just like basic information for me. And then finally, Wolverine, Snick. And I don't know if these things are popping up right because they're so flat you can't even see them. I think they're supposed to be, maybe you're supposed to view this on an angle. I don't know if this is working perfectly, but it's still very cool. I don't know if this is supposed to be like that. I mean, they should have printed on both sides of it if that's the case, right? And maybe you're supposed to look at it like this. This looks like John Byrne to me. Ink's blown up. But here's X-Men from his Giant Size X-Men 1. It looks really nice and detailed because they're blowing it down. Here's his fact file sheet right here. And it's stuck. Okay, there we go. Weapon X, all that stuff. He wasn't called Weapon X yet. First appearance, Incredible Hulk 180 and 181. And who else is left here? We have Banshee. And this might be earlier than Giant Size X-Men 1 when he was like a bad guy. Yeah, this is some earlier X-Men here. I think this was like Don Heck or George Tuska art or something when the X-Men wasn't selling so well. He gets his, I don't know.
A tight beam sonic blast.
Then over here we have Cerebro, and yeah, this is all about Cerebro. I hope I wasn't missing anything here. Yeah, no, some of these flip open, some of these don't. And then finally we got Colossus, the last page. And this, I remember this, the Juggernaut. This is one of their early adventures. This is like X-Men, like 99 or something like that. And look, you can see the fist goes up. He's in metallic, which is kind of weird. They don't have any like highlights or anything. They kind of pulled that out. And Storm is cowering on the ground like that. And here's his fact file. This is the first appearance ever of Colossus, Giant Size X-Men 1. So yeah, they took Giant Size X-Men 1. Now this is interesting because last week we were talking to somebody, and there's like a group of kind of like comic indie
Sewer Boys. Those are Jason Lego Sewer Boys #2, going to go to Kickstarter. Probably where this video will come out later, but
Giant Size X-Men #1. Wouldn't you like to be a part of that project? Get a page on that. So I bought this, the complete collection of S.H.I.E.L.D. by Lee and Kirby, supposedly. But then I get this thing home, and it's not all Lee and Kirby, actually, but it is kind of like all the early S.H.I.E.L.D. stuff. So you go, starting with Strange Tales 149. No, it starts with Fantastic Four 21. That's, I think, the first time you hear about Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D. Strange Tales 135 to 147. Of course, Doctor Strange starts in Strange Tales 110. Jack Kirby, Dennis O'Neil, Strange Tales 148, 149. And then so here in the art, it's going to be some John Severin, Don Heck, Joe Sinnott, Howard Purcell, Ogden Whitney, I don't even know those names, and John Buscema. Inkers, George Russo's, Dick Ayers, John Severin, Joe Sinnott, Frank Giacoa, Mike Esposito, remember him, Don Heck, and Ogden Whitney. And so this brings you through the beginning of the very first Sergeant Fury is going to be, I I guess, transitioning from like a World War II guy into Agent of Shield. And the years work out in 1960s because he would have been 20 in the war, let's say, in his 20s, and now he's in his 40s. He's going to be an Agent of Shield. So you got a classic Kirby FF here. Then we're going forward here to Kirby with Dick Ayers. Big difference on the inking. We can probably do some commentary on that. But this is a good comic except for the colors. This is very recognizably John Severin. So basically, you get the idea. I'm gonna read through this. There's some good stuff in here, and it tells us the early story of Shield. I think I paid maybe $8 for that. So this is another one of Marvel Comics special products where they put out these books in the bookstore, and they're like coffee table books or flipping books. How to draw comics. I got this cheap. Of course, Stanley doesn't know how to draw anything, so he's going to use other artists here. But his name is on it, so this means this is probably put out. Let's see, 1990. No, what does it say? 2010. So this comes out 2010. And Stanley's still around back then, doing his thing. Let's get started. So this famous book, that everybody had back in the day, it's kind of like, revisited here. So they might, but it's not like just going through it. So they're just going to show you some of the classic Marvel stuff, tell the golden story, the golden age of it, of all this stuff. Look at that. This is the first graphic novel, Stanley and Jack Kirby. And is that supposed to be a Kirby cover somebody painted? That looks like Steranko or something.
I think it's an Earl.
Oh, really?
Warren.
Okay.
Look down in the corner, bottom right or left corner of the.
It doesn't say the first graphic novel. It doesn't say who did the cover. We could find that out. Anyway, yeah, flipping through here. So, it has all the tools of the trade. You got your printers and, telling you what to do. I guess if you're just picking this up, pretty basic. I as an art teacher, I always love having these like lying around the art room. I have a little library of how-to books. This is good about perspective grids. There's a lot of different samples of inking here and different art styles. I haven't even flipped through this yet, so I'm just going to give this a quick little tickle. And let's see. Yeah, we're going through some. Well, they're not really crediting people. Oh, here we go. So this mentions Neil Adams, Bill Sienkiewicz, J. Scott Campbell. It goes through a lot of different styles here. This is talking to you about Al's more cartoony adventure style, and Al Rio. Oh, here the names are up here. I'm totally missing out on this. So this is showcasing a bunch of names here. Anthony Tan. That's cool, but not too many of them. Talking about textures. So this is an interesting book. More to see on that. I'm just kind of like ripping through these. Speaking of, you have Joe Kubert's Superheroes, and this is clearly a how-to book. They probably could have named this better, like How To by Joe Kubert.
Who put that out? Who's
Well, this comes out from Watson Guptill Publication.
Yeah, it's not it's to go into Barnes and Nobles and
Right.
Targets and Walmarts and stuff like that.
1999.
So it needs that big moniker, superheroes. Catch that grandmother so they can buy it for their grandson.
Yeah, but it's going through heroes and superheroes. So I like this. They're going through the history of heroes, and then you get a lot of Joe Kubert sketches.
So awesome.
I mean, for me, like what I like doing is doing really hard face angles and practicing that, and and he gets into that, I think, at some point in here, right? Like here he's showing the frontal versus the side profile, all these different character types, character designs. So this is good to like flip through if you're looking for some inspiration or you're looking for a quick swipe. Here's what I'm talking about the face angles, right? 3/4 up, 3/4 down.
Mm-hmm.
This one 3/4 rear. I use this a lot because you want to have like somebody looking over the shoulder, and then something else, and then so they're in the foreground. Here's the proportions. The head is 1/8. The legs are 1/2 of the whole proportion. And then, this is really unfair because, guys like Joe Kubert just never do anything wrong. They just have a natural, innate ability, and and it just comes out perfectly every time. So this isn't fair. They're like, "Oh, you just do this," It's like, okay, pal. Oh, it's all right for you to say. I got to erase the face 20 times. I love this though. He's saying like how the hair can really accentuate and these kind of tips are really nice. So yeah, it goes on like that. Nice book. I picked it up cheap. And then they're showing you some actual roughs from Ragman, which I used to love. Ragman. Ragman had a nice like mood and tone to it. And so here's some roughs. This is what it looks like, and this is basically what I do. I did the
Damn.
same thing, except it just doesn't come
Damn.
out as good. He's like perfect first time, but he goes over with a red pen. He's putting in the sound effects. He's showing you the script right here. Right, this is what the full script looks like. Page 5, page 7. The wail of approaching sirens shatters the moment, and so this is good inside baseball. I recommend this for young artists and people that are lifelong learners. What else do we got here? All right, I'm finally going to just flip through Pink Lemonade by Nick Cagnetti. I picked this up, I don't know where, and, I thought it was great because this looks very Jack Kirby-ish to me, but I was disappointed. This is not going to be like an ode to Jack Kirby, exactly. He's got this character, Pink Lemonade. Her face is a big circle because it's a motorcycle helmet, and there's definitely a Jack Kirby influence here, but it's not enough for me. And then you get this kind of like cartoony style, and there's a lot here. So these were all compiled, floppy issues that get compiled into a graphic novel. Looks like a pretty good book, but it didn't get me. Like I started the first couple pages, and I couldn't it didn't like catch me and suck me in. So meet Pink Lemonade, the new hero on the scene. This is Oni Press, and so I imagine these came out as Oni Press floppies originally. And I do like the art. I do like the color. This guy's got a definite style. But you know what lost me is like the storytelling, right? I didn't get pulled in on the storytelling. I think they've also got some guest artists here, and it says it mentions Don Simpson. So I'm just looking, and I guess Don did some pages here somewhere that I'm not seeing. Oh, here we go. You could tell Don a mile away. So Don Simpson does a 1, 2, 3, 4 pager in here in his inimitable style. And gotta love Don Simpson. But he's taken the character into his own, I guess, world. And then some other guest artists, which is cool. I didn't get this far in the book yet, and I might go back. But just wanted to show this off because I bought it for $9.99 on sale. And, it's definitely worth that. I can get that back pretty easily.
And Newberry Comics.
At Newberry Comics, yeah. That's what it says here, right? Pretty sure. They had some markdowns, like maybe during the holidays or something. And I picked that up because this was probably triple that. Yeah, it starts out $24.99. All right, the last thing I'm going to show, the Apex Treasury of Underground Comics. I don't know how much of this I can show. This is a real thick tome here. It looks like the back cover is getting separated from the glue spine here, so I got to be careful here. But you got Bobby London, Spain, Gilbert Shelton, Shari Flanagan, Jay Lynch, Bill Griffith, R. Crumb, Justin Green, Art Spiegelman, and Willie Murphy. This is an old book here, edited by Don Donahue and Susan Goodrick. Probably the most valuable thing is the introduction. Oh, there's no intro. Oh, yeah, here. how I went underground. Because Apex was a print shop, I believe, and I remember they were selling off some like all of these like print plates and print errors and test prints in the auction scene for a while. Here's Mr. Natural. This is like all the early Zap stuff, the early underground stuff. The White Man, some of the stuff might not be safe for work. Here you got Lenore Goldberg and her Girl Commandos. This was a great one. I think this came out in Hop Comics later on, or maybe Detroit. What was it? Detroit something. I got to be careful what I show here. Art Spiegelman is showing Mouse. So this was when Mouse was first coming out, and then of course Mouse is a Pulitzer Prize winning graphic novel that they show in every school basically, and that's
Not
well,
anymore.
now it goes school by school. It's gotten controversial because I think there's one scene where they like allude to, sex or something. Here's the Freak Brothers by Gilbert
Okay.
Shelton, and there's a lot of great stuff in here. And then some of this, I don't know if everybody in here is credited on the cover, so there's probably some other people here, but you get some interesting, kind of like explanations leading into it. Yeah, there's a lot of different artists here. A lot of different artists here. And there's definitely some adult stuff. This is underground stuff. This is Spain right here.
Yeah.
Look at that. Look at that stuff. So there's nothing here
Yeah.
that poses a problem. But look at Spain. Dark pages, zipatone, a lot on the page, really dense, detailed stuff. Ahead of his time. Look, Subvert Comics, Trash Man. This was his character. Rip
Yeah.
Off Press put this out, and this thing that I'm holding, I forget where I got this. I think I might have gotten this. I forget where I got this. Might have gotten this upstate. Oh, look at the back. It's the best of Bijou on the back here. Now back in print. So the best of. Oh, and this does go. Oh wow, this is a back-to-back printing. I didn't even notice that.
Cool.
And so this goes, look at that, all this behind the scenes stuff. And these guys are definitely pretty hairy guys. Look at all this stuff. Bijou
Hippies.
Funnies. This is what they all look like. Skip Williamson, Justin Green, Art Spiegelman on his bar mitzvah. Really cool. So this is just hours of fun, and a lot of adult stuff here mixed in, very irreverent. You gotta love it, but I can't wait to read these introductions because they're probably giving you away like interesting stuff that you can't find otherwise. This one has Kim Deach, Jay Kinney, Skip Williamson, some of the others, and this all comes out. Oh, this is 1975. Wow, this is an oldie. This all came out in 1975. So I have this big coffee table book I bought, The History of Zap, and it came out like maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, and it's huge and like really small printing, lots and lots of story, lots and lots of stuff to read about. I haven't even cracked it yet. So this was this was like, the history of it up to 75 only, where they were still doing it, but back then. They were still putting these things out
Yeah.
back then. Right? This was still, not the heyday. The heyday was like the late 60s, but they were still Rip Off and Last Gasp were still putting stuff out. These guys were still young and still, prolific and putting stuff up. Oh, here's Trots and Bonnie. Remember Trots and Bonnie from National Lampoon? No?
No, I never read National Lampoon.
You know what? I just realized where I got this from. I got this from my friend Rick. And you know how I know? Because it reeks of cigarettes. So, folks, that
All
is
right.
my
Woo.
report. And, I'm happy with some of these things. But yet again, the message is Jake buys a lot more stuff than he ever has time to read. It piles up. So he's basically a hoarder. I'm not well, and I need to retire so I can just sit down. Like I can't imagine just grabbing one of these books and sitting on the couch and just reading it for like an hour. I just can't, like my life has been too busy for decades, and I just can't even. You feel guilty doing something like that.
Right. All right. Well, there you go. Another episode of Comics That
That's
Influence.
right, folks. And if you're watching this, we are the purveyors of Turbo Pit Fighter, post-apocalyptic sci-fi comic. You can find this at hellclaw.com or kurtbrugel.com. We still have about 10 copies of this variant or this version left before we reprint. We're only charging $3 for this, Kurt. $3.
Yep.
Wow, look at all this. So this is like the first 12 pages of our comic that we're working on. And you can check out our other series where we do the making of Turbo Pit Fighter live on the air every Sunday for about an hour, 10 p.m. Eastern. You're watching Comics and Influence, which is our other series where we flip through the best comics that we can get our grubby little mitts on. And finally, our other series, the Indie Creator Exchange, where we interview the coolest people that we can meet, and we go over their comic and we flip through their stuff and we hear their stories. That's a very interesting series too. There's always like a lot of great stuff there if you want to go mine the archives. So that's it, Kurt. I will see you on Sunday for another episode of Making Turbo. What do you say?
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. See you Sunday.
See you. Bye, everybody.